Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very, very much for joining us today. I can't think of a better day to shine on this event than today. Harold.
Oh, thank you so much. First, let us thank Ann and Bill for hosting the event today. You can't have a day in paradise without a venue like this. This is just phenomenal.
And
thank you.
can I say, many of you probably know this was my father's house. And certainly in the years in the 60s and 70s when my mother was still alive, there were a lot of parties like this here, and it's really wonderful to have it again.
Oh, thank you. And you couldn't have a better reason to have that than what we're going to do today. My name's Harold Bailey. I'm chair of Team Westport, and I'm here really for today's Diversity Trailblazer Awards. Team, in case you don't know it, stands for Together Effectively Achieving Multiculturalism. And it's the town council focused around making Westport a more welcoming place for race, religion, ethnicity, sexual orientation. Basically, making Westport a more welcoming place, period, for diversity. And this is the second year in a row in which we will have been recognizing 3 people who've done an outstanding job around diversity for a lifetime. And those 3 today will be Dr. Al Beasley, Claire Gold, and Andy BOAS, as we'll talk about each individually that will come up. But they've each added a tremendous amount to the town as well as to surrounding communities, and will have influence for many generations to come. So before we get started, I wanted to also turn things over to our first selectman, who has been extremely supportive of our town council, Gordon.
Thank you, Harold, and welcome everyone. You know, Mike Lauderborn of the Westport News asked me, what is it that makes Westport so special? And what makes this event so special? And I said, you know, Westport remembers. Westport does not forget. And so for those who've worked so hard for Westport and for diversity over the years, we don't forget. And it's a pleasure to be able to honor particularly Claire Gold and Al Beasley and Andy BOAS, who is a new generation of caring Westporters. And Andy in particular carries on a tradition that's long been alive in Westport. And so we're deeply grateful for those who've worked in the past, those who continue to work, and those of you who support their efforts and our efforts to continue to make Westport a very special place to live. And so I thank you for coming, and I thank Team Westport for all its efforts. Sometimes it's not easy to do things in Westport, but this is a bunch of people who have, and they know. But when particularly on diversity issues, it's tough. But these are people who persevere no matter the storms that come about. And so I thank Harold and his team who've been so dedicated and so persevering in their efforts. So thank them, and thank you very much for coming, and particularly thanks to our honorees.
Now we're ready to get started with our first honoree, Andy BOAS, who has been not only a great philanthropist with the Charter Oaks Foundation, as you'll hear about in detail, but also someone who has done a tremendous job as an educator, helping education take place via the charter school that he helped found in Bridgeport. So to get us more detail behind that, let me ask Dan Wogue to come up. Dan's, for each one of the honorees, will be going through a biography that he's put together. Dan?
Andy BOAS's resume is impressive enough. A general partner at Karl Marx Management. I love the idea that Andy joined Karl Marx to start a bankruptcy and distressed investments fund. He has directed various public and private companies in which his firm has an interest. But the Cornell University and Hofstra University School of Law graduate is much more than a money man. He has quite literally put his money where his mouth is. In 2000, Andy founded the Charter Oak Challenge Foundation. Its mission is simple, yet agonizingly difficult. Help build better futures for underserved children in the Bridgeport area. The foundation wasted no time. In less than a decade, it has created the largest college scholarship program in the area. It provides support, both strategic and financial, to numerous nonprofit organizations in and around Bridgeport. The first major initiative was a scholarship program. It has sent more than 100 deserving Bridgeport high school students to college with a scholarship and a laptop. Since 2005, Charter Oak's primary mission has been to help make transformative, systemic changes in education throughout the state. How has it gone about that seemingly Sisyphean task? By partnering with cutting-edge organizations that advocate for leveling the playing field for all students, especially those who are traditionally bypassed. In 2006, Charter Oak helped open Achievement First Bridgeport Academy in one of that city's toughest and poorest neighborhoods. The public charter middle school now serves over 450 students a year. This fall, Achievement First Bridgeport opened its second school for children in kindergarten through 5th grade. Its first class of kindergartners includes 90 youngsters. Andy calls them scholars, and they are. Charter schools must meet state standards. They make their own rules. For example, they spend more days a year in school and more hours each day, but they also get less funding from the state. Finding private funding is a constant battle. Andy helps raise millions of dollars a year for his schools. He says, "I don't take no for an answer. We do whatever it takes to get the work done." Many of the 16 Westport families who helped when he founded the Charter Oak Foundation are still involved. For example, riding in the fundraising Charter Oak Challenge bike tour. Andy's work on behalf of others is his passion. I asked him about his motivation. "I'm lucky I live in the United States and in a beautiful community like Westport," he said. "My kids went to Staples. They have everything they want. But just a couple of miles away, it's a completely different world." Andy calls Bridgeport a disastrous, intolerable situation. The fact that where you live determines the education you get is outrageous. These kids are getting neutered. He continued, "I got involved because this was right in front of me. It was a no-brainer. A better Bridgeport means a better America. I'm not going to rest until these kids a few miles away get an equal chance." And he currently serves on a number of nonprofit boards. They include Achievement First, the University of Pennsylvania Graduate School of Education, the Bridgeport Education Fund, and the Jewish Community House of Bensonhurst. One of Andy's favorite sayings is, "Education levels the playing field." Around here, it is fair to say, education and Andy BOAS level the playing field. Congratulations.
It's my honor and privilege on behalf of Team Westport and the town of Westport to recognize Andrew BOAS as a diversity trailblazer. Andrew BOAS is a philanthropist, activist, and education innovator. His tireless work and creativity in providing scholarships and technology has enabled access to opportunities and hope for hundreds of talented, underserved Bridgeport children. His leadership in the charter school arena is impacting hundreds more students and families annually. Dated this 7th day of November 2010, Gordon Josloff and Harold Bailey, and I'm proud to call Andy my friend.
I don't want to burn you down, but, okay. In addition, there's a commendation from Congressman Jim Himes. Certificate of Special Recognition presented for your unwavering advocacy for equality and multiculturalism. And because this is very much an important part of the history of Westport, Woody Klein has provided a personally signed copy of this book for you with comments as well. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Alex just asked me if I wanted to take this opportunity to say something, and I never let an opportunity like that pass. Okay, so Dan has pretty much stolen my thunder. You know, I can't. He's pretty much said everything I wanted to say. The sine qua non for me is that where you live determines the education you get. I find that absolutely outrageous. It's remarkable to me that because the people in this community can afford to send their kids to first-rate schools, they get a good education. But the parents who have next to nothing in Bridgeport send their kids to schools, four-fifths of which, 80% of the schools in Bridgeport are failing schools under No Child Left Behind legislation. It's just outrageous. If we don't do something about this, this country is going to be a disaster because we have failing students. We spend more on prisons and incarceration in this state than we do on higher education. We spend well over $1 billion in this state. It is just beyond belief. However, that being said, there are first-rate organizations doing beautiful work to help the children reach their potential. So whether it's our schools or many of the premier charter schools in the United States, whether it's the work that Claire Gold is doing, creating wonderful magnet schools, the vocational schools, there is tremendous opportunity for these students. It is not only our job in Westport, we are the 5th richest community in the United States. It is not only our job, but it is our responsibility. We're obligated to work on behalf of those less fortunate. We have so much. Please help in this effort. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minnie. Our next honoree is educator and philanthropist Claire Gold.
School superintendents are often maligned. Who knew? Sometimes they're respected. School superintendents are seldom admired, let alone loved. But those are exactly the words used to describe Claire Gold. A graduate of the University of Pennsylvania, Yale, and Fairfield University, with degrees in sociology, school psychology, and administration. She started out as a reading teacher working with special needs children. She arrived in Westport in 1965, working as a psychologist at Coleytown Junior High. She became townwide director of special education, assistant superintendent, and from 1980 through 1988, superintendent of schools. She moved on to Weston, serving as superintendent there, then made her mark as an educator in an even broader way. After consulting as a desegregation specialist for interdistrict programs, Claire originated and developed the 6-to-6 interdistrict magnet school in Bridgeport. Her focus has been in 2 areas, the arts and bringing together urban and suburban children. She was selected as one of the top 100 administrators in North America, cited by Governor Ella Grasso as an outstanding woman in Connecticut, has been selected to the Hall of Fame of the Association of Children with Learning Disabilities, and was named Connecticut Educator of the Year for her work on behalf of minority students and the cause of school integration. Claire's work in this area is epitomized by what she did with Project Concern during her tenure as Westport Superintendent of Schools. She oversaw Project Concern and nurtured it, creating opportunities for scores of boys and girls from Bridgeport to attend Westport Elementary School, Junior High, and Staples. It was a life-changing experience for many, not just the Bridgeport youngsters, but the Westport students, teachers, and families who knew them, befriended them, and to this day, in some cases, still call them best friends. She has continued to consult to universities, boards of education, and the Southwestern Area Commerce and Industry Association. For the last 6 years, Claire has been the driving force behind the new Discovery Magnet School in Bridgeport, focusing on science and technology for grades pre-K through 8. Its cross-district scope helps ease racial isolation between Connecticut's urban and suburban schools. When I asked Claire about her life's work, she said, "I always felt fortunate to have had the career I did in Westport. I hope I added to the excellence of the system. When I retired, I knew I could not sit around and do nothing. My parents were immigrants. I was the daughter of 2 Polish peasants from the shtetl. Growing up in Hoboken, I knew what it was like to make your way in a new country. At my last faculty meeting in Westport, I told the staff I was going to work on bringing better education to underprivileged kids. I've done that now for 20 years. I have a deep feeling that somehow we all have to live together, and there's no better place to start than with very young children." All her life, Claire Gold has done exactly that. Finally, though this has nothing to do with Claire Gold's impact on education, race relations, or child development, it is worth noting that her late husband, Julius, had a similarly important impact locally as the longtime owner of Gold's Delicatessen. Claire and Julius's marriage was a true partnership and served as a model for many Westporters of all ages. Congratulations, Claire.
It's my honor and pleasure to read this citation. Team Westport recognizes Claire Gold as a diversity trailblazer. Claire Gold is a longtime, widely recognized advocate of diversity in education. Her enlightened, courageous leadership as superintendent of Westport Schools resulted in the successful adoption and implementation of Project Choice, a breakthrough initiative in opening education to all. Her subsequent work on school integration and breaking barriers between urban and suburban districts has enriched countless lives and enhanced untold opportunities throughout Connecticut. It's an honor, Claire, to present you with this certificate, a small token of our appreciation.
Claire, before you start, sorry. I'll hold on to these. Okay.
First, I want to thank Westport for remembering me.
I said we don't forget.
Well, as long as you forget the bad things. That's okay. Westport was a wonderful opportunity for me to experience excellence and hopefully to contribute to excellence. People forget that when I became superintendent of schools, there was only one other woman in the state who was a superintendent. So right off the bat, Westport showed that it did not have bias. That was a tough decision for the Westport board. I learned that excellence is achievable by all, particularly in my early years working in special education. The kids were